let's set the table for some collage goodness. Yum, yum. Just got back from a little break, a little bit of a vacation, and I always find some jewels along the way. The ubiquitous National Geographic. You cannot go wrong when you are a collage artist. However, my venture took me to Las Vegas, which, where I am in Los Angeles, is easily a day trip. And I grabbed several free pieces of ephemera, or so I believe it to be ephemera. And I have to admit, sometimes I grab more than one because occasionally I do conduct workshops, and I like to have plenty on hand for my pupils. I am careful that I choose ephemera that I know I will use. Sometimes that doesn't always happen. My time might be limited. All of this I found at a local library where I was in the Vegas area. So again, not to bogart or anything like that, I grabbed 2 pieces of the free publications. And what my goal is today, I believe, is to see what I can come up with in these Vegas magazines for a collage. I think that'll be fun. Just limit it to these few magazines and save the rest for later or for a potential class in the near future. So we have about 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 contemporary magazines that I can work with. I may not work with all of them. So what I'm going to do next is my favorite part of collaging, and I hope yours too, is to search for elements that inspire and ignite that creativity, and we will see what we can come up with. Viva Las Vegas! My first run through with these magazines, and there are a lot of images that I am very attracted to and am considering deeply. However, there's a lot of seasonal content going on. This is still early December, so there's some wonderful fall imagery, and then we're coming on to Christmas, and I kind of try to stay away from seasonal stuff right now. There is beautiful graphic illustrations in this magazine that I may want to use portions of for my piece, and I'm not certain yet what I will do. I like these clouds. So what I do is just place it off to the side and dog ear an area of the page that I want to work with that I know I won't be cutting from, so I won't have any of the creased pieces in my piece. This magazine, surprisingly, I thought it was going to be more flimsy, but the paper is actually pretty strong. And some of the imagery repeats. I have 2 pictures of the Vegas sphere, which is now part of the strip's landscape. So I definitely want to use that. I haven't been to the sphere yet. I definitely have seen it from a distance. I'll have to make my way over there sometime. The other problem I'm running into right now is the lack of a focal point. Obviously, I have some really wonderful color images. Hey, it's Tut again, and you know I've had trouble with Tut with other collage pieces, and this is a brand new one now that I can play with. I get 2 of the same magazines when I'm able to get them for free, and the reason being is if I want to repeat Tut, I have another one of these magazines that I might do that, and that might become a focal point. I have these ballet dancers, and I also have this wonderful sculpture that has so many possibilities. I can cut out that negative space and find something to do. So I have a lot of ancillary pieces that aren't focal points, and that's all well and good, but for somebody like myself, I really need to have a focal point, something that I'm excited about and that I want to work with. I thought about her also maybe, but I'm not totally feeling it. And these Cirque du Soleil performers, they're awesome. Trouble is that I'm also trying to deal with size. Size also plays a part in your composition. You want to have many different sizes going on. If everything is the same size, it's just not as interesting. He is also a possibility. And of course, there is the cover with these dancers. I like it. That's why I grabbed this magazine, but I don't know if I necessarily want them to be my focal point. So I'm going to run through this all again, and I'm going to look at my ancillary pieces and decide if there's something I want to repeat. I kind of think I want to repeat that. Do I want to repeat Tut? If anything, I want to keep him in the loop. 2 tuts are better than 1, just as 2 spheres are. So I have these other smaller pieces, just stuff I was very interested in, and see little things that happen. Sometimes things happen by accident, and those are the best things that can happen. So to solve this problem right now, I need to find my focal point, and I did limit myself to these magazines. That was the goal. However, I'm starting to, I'm losing little hope here. I'm thinking about I'm looking longingly at the National Geographics, which I haven't even looked through yet. So let me go back to Time-lapse, do a little bit more thinking, and see if we can find a focal point among these chosen free Las Vegas ephemera magazines. So off camera, I did a little more hunting around. I found this woman in an attitude of yoga meditation. She might look good on this background. Definitely not a focal point still. Am I still searching for a focal point? I think it's starting to come together. This is the word palms, but alms might make for an interesting story. And I'm realizing just now that when I create a collage, I am creating something of a story, not so much a message, but I like telling a tale. Definitely want to use these sculptures. And he is slowly making his way into being a focal point, but then it might get a little absurd. However, I found that these legs kind of fit perfectly where his head is. So what I am going to do is continue cutting, because as I've shared before, when I do cutting, I tend to come up with more ideas. Everything has a very strong blue, purple, lavender, pink, really strong energy colors, and I might stay with that. I'm not sure. More will be revealed to me when I start cutting things out and then they become pieces of a puzzle that I get to put back together. This is when I realize how important it is for me to just do cutting. I did a lot of cutting, and I like everything that I cut out. Still not sure what direction this collage might be going into, but I cut out the sphere, and a sphere, after all, is a sphere. It's perfectly round. From the Vegas strip, you only see a portion of it, but you do see that wonderful curve going on, and I thought, well, what if I put it together and I make it like a real ball, a pure sphere? You know, this is why it's so important to travel. This is why it's good to get out of our element, because this is what challenges us more than anything. So while I was cutting this, I started wondering, that could be kind of interesting to imagine here, making the sphere a pure sphere, even though it is part of a landmark and it isn't possible that it can be like that. There are also this Ferris wheel nearby the sphere, and even though it is much smaller, I was wondering, well, can I possibly do the same? I'm having trouble with this Xacto knife as an offhand issue from this collage, and I'm not sure if it's this mat or if it's this knife, but there's something weird and slippery going on. This mat is old, and I'm not at my usual studio this week, so I'm working with what I have, and I'm running into some technical difficulties, so I really need to be careful. This knife is not making me happy. I may need to change it out, because I definitely need it for these detailed cuts that are coming up. I think I'm going to be using this sculpture in this collage. I found this yoga gal, and I tucked her into our man's arm. I'm wondering about keeping his jacket. I think I will, because this is where the legs go, and it just kind of fits perfectly. I have these hands, but I want to get rid of this little token that is in here and maybe put something else there. Although it's getting a little busy now. When I put the hands here, they offer a nice background for the red of the shoes. But we have hands here, we have limbs, we have a lot going on with that, so I'm not quite sure yet if it's going to work that way. There's also this little heart, but it's too big. I may need to put those both off to the side. The heart might work here, maybe. I don't want to get too crazy with it. And I was thinking again about using the word alms for our background, but we have the sphere. I don't know. Yeah, is this even going to be visually possible? There's this. I'm going to play with that a little bit more, of course. There's still more cutting to be done. I think we're kind of on the way to what we want to do. But so I just wanted to stop and share that, because this is how I come about with my ideas. I just start cutting. I choose my ephemera. I choose what I think will look good, stuff that ignites curiosity and creativity, and it helps with the thinking process. Whenever I do like a mailer challenge, or I limit myself to whatever I have available, I sometimes run into these problems. I run into focal point problems. And it's just, it's not a big deal. I can always dive into something else and grab go through the National Geographics and see if there's anything there that I want to play with. We always have Tut. There's always Tut. Someday, Mr. Tut, I will put you in a collage. I don't know if it's going to be today, though. So still a little bit more cutting I want to do, and a lot more playing around with this collage. sculpture pieces. I like the way they came out. And other ephemera ready to go. Now it's time to think out loud and play with all of my new little gems. Not sure if I'm going to maybe utilize these pieces, possibly, not sure, maybe another video. So our focal point was this guy, although we cut off his head and we're going to give him a pair of legs for a new head. We have the sphere, and the problem I have with this middle section showing through, that's going to be solved by putting the jacket on there like this. I'm not going to adhere anything just yet. I'm going to use tape for this collage. I think I want it about there. So still in play mode, big time play mode. I want to use the sculpture as part of the body. So something like this. Don't want to show too much of the bottom of the jacket because it's just a boring straight cut. There it is. What I can do, if I feel very comfortable using this, I can always come in and just trim off what is not needed. So I like the way this is so far working out. I have this precious little heart, and I might put it like right here, maybe. I like how the heart, the red of the heart reflects with the shoes. So we have a good balance of color going on here right now. Also, there's some lovely red on the sphere, and that brings everything together. Okay, and I'm kind of doing battle with, do I want the shoes over the thumb or under the thumb? I might make the shoes more focal than the hand, although, I don't know. Oops, again, we are playing right now. I have this other little hand. It has like kind of a Monty Python quality to it. The background originally for this hand was red. So when you are working with ephemera that has specific background colors, you can be assured that this black and white image has a little bit of red in it. So to put it into this image next to red will be fine. And again, it's collage, so I can play with it. You can barely see the bit of red there, but it's very similar. When you are painting and you have areas of your picture that are, say, black and white like this, but the background was red, you're going to use just a teeny tiny little bit of red inside that black and white. So somehow it becomes cohesive and it's meant to be. So I feel very comfortable if I use this strange little Monty Python hand because the background was originally red. So I may or may not use that. I have the other sculpture piece also out, and thinking about doing something like this perhaps. That might be interesting. Not sure. And then she obviously has a lot of red on her too with her shoes and originally her dress. Had our thinker. I was thinking about putting him right here, and I haven't cut him all the way out yet, kind of acting like a conscience, which is what I was doing originally with the little yoga lady. I was making her something of a conscience, but Rodin's thinker really drives the point home, and I can kind of put him on there now. So that might work. And the there's more of a message maybe, or a story that we're telling. I still have my yoga lady, but I think it's too much if I put her in here. Yeah, I think it's too much. I'm not even sure if I'm going to use this little hand guy, but I do like the heart. So this says a lot more to me. We obviously have a male focal point, a male body, and then we have these female legs coming out. So it's just more of a story. It is absurd. It almost has like a sci-fi quality to it. I loved this background. Was one of this color theme was running through all the magazines as you saw in the beginning, and I love blues and purples and pinks and these rich reds. So, ooh, kind of like that, maybe something like that. I might do that. So I thought about maybe using this as a background, but we're starting to get just a little busy, and I don't want it to be too busy. I think it's a little too busy. Let's see. We also have this. This isn't too bad. This is a little bit more tame. It doesn't take up too much space. It's just a square of sorts. We have our heart down here and the rest of our sphere. And then we have this hand. And then this hand corresponds with these hands. So I'm kind of going into this general direction. Of course, the thinker here, I want him to act like something of a conscience, and he's turned away from the legs. So that's saying much more. It's I'm not looking for anything deep here, but it's kind of, to me, here his other hands are gesticulating, they're happy, they're excited, these beautiful legs are coming out of his head, and this thinker is just like sitting there all disappointed, like, why are you doing this? I think I'm kind of nearing finished here. I'm nearing the finish line. I had to cut this out also because, well, it's an X-ray hand, and why not? And I can maybe use it in another collage. I also had this space scene going on. That could also work very well because the color scheme is good. I want it underneath yeah, that might work also. But I'm going to have to scan it into Photoshop and decide what else I want to do. It might be a touch busy. There's a lot going on in a very compacted area, but I think I'm good with it, and I'm nearing completion. I really like this spine, because once you cut it out, you wouldn't even be able to tell if it was a spine. So, poor Tut. One day we'll use Tut. I swear, one day we will. Okay, so I'm going to go grab some tape, and I think I'm going to put this baby together. Call it done. Smaller than I thought it was going to be, and decided to take out these little background ideas. Still wondering if I want to include this. When I put this second piece under it, I feel like it's too much. I'm just not sure if it works that way. Any other background, this isn't too bad, but it doesn't necessarily, well, it's kind of interesting. I'm just not sure if I want to add any more to it, because there is a lot going on, and I'm not sure if I want to add any more to it. So maybe we'll just call it done and be okay with what we have. So this looks like the results of my Vegas venture and the ephemera that I collected, and you'll see the ephemera from these other pieces show up somehow, someday in another collage. Coming to you soon. Don't know when. So, like I said, I think it's done. Not sure how I feel about it, but that's me, and wake up tomorrow morning and decide it's just fine. Or maybe it needs more. I'll definitely sleep on it. I like sleeping on my collages. Not literally sleep on them, because then they get, they get messed up. We don't want that. But I think I will give it some more thought with this sculpture, but leave it alone. I don't want to overthink it. You don't want to overthink collage either, because then it's just not any fun. There is a nice balance with the additional sculpture piece. Yeah, we'll just leave it out and I'll see. I'll play with it a little bit. And you'll see in the final image. I always will post that for you. In the meantime, I thank you for your viewership, for your comments, and I love your feedback. Feedback is very important for artists, and I hope I helped you along in your own collage journey, and we will see you next time.